Hi guys, how are you? I hope you're having a great day. I just thought I wanted to jump on today and do a video about Agni, or our digestive fire, and share a little bit more about Ayurveda with you today. As it would happen, last night I woke up about 2 a.m. in the morning. It's when all of your good ideas seem to come through, don't they? I just had the idea to share a little bit more about Agni and digestion. So what is Agni? Agni is basically our digestive fire or our metabolism, and it's our ability to transform the food we eat and break that down into nutrients that our body can absorb and assimilate and use, and then eliminate the waste. So I like to think of, our digestive fire or Agni just as you would a normal fire. If you have a really nice fire that's just really burning really well, you can put a log on the fire and that will easily break down that wood, transform that wood, if you will. And that's what we want the digestive fire to do to our food. Transform that food into nutrients then we can absorb. And then if you compare that to, say you've got a very, almost like a candle flame, or just some slow burning embers, just some coal, and then you throw a big log on that fire, you're basically going to snuff the fire out, and you're going to have no transformation. There's not going to be any digestion, and that wood's not going to break down or be converted at all. And so if you think about your, every time you eat, just check in with, how's my fire at the moment? What sort of, if you can visualize what sort of state it's in, that will really help you to make better decisions, or even understand how and why you feel the way you do after you've eaten certain things. So Ayurveda also has a couple of really nice sayings, but we've all heard the saying, you are what you eat. And Ayurveda takes that one step further and basically says you are what you can digest. Now, that makes perfect sense to me, because I just think it doesn't really matter what you eat. And I've seen people that are really trying to eat beautiful, nutritious, fresh food, but for some reason their health doesn't seem to follow suit. They sort of don't seem to get well and recover, and it can only come down to the fact that they're not absorbing the nutrients that they're eating. So they're eating the food, it's not sort of converting or breaking down in a way that the body can use it, and then it's sort of maybe sits there undigested, and then it's eliminated, so they're not getting that nutrients. So this process, when the fire is so low and we're not able to convert it efficiently, we get what's left over is called Ama. So Ama in Ayurveda basically means uncooked. So anytime where we have something that comes into the body that's not, fully digested, fully cooked, or fully converted or broken down, we call it Ama. Now today we're going to be talking about physical Ama in relation to our digestion, but this concept can be applied to the mind and the emotions as well. So anytime we have something or a situation that comes at us that makes us feel really angry or irritated or resentful or sad, and we don't process that emotion effectively or digest it effectively, then that sits with us undigested, and will have ongoing effects on our health and well-being as well. So I really like that analogy, and that's why with Ayurveda, no one diet is great for everyone. Sometimes people say, oh, is raw good, or is this good, or should I be this, or should I be that, and what about gluten-free and vegan? And it is really difficult to make a blanket statement, because it really comes down to what your digestion, what state it's in. And some people can almost eat anything, and it doesn't affect them. And then other people, where they're lacking some sort of digestive enzymes or hydrochloric acid, or bile production's a bit sluggish, then other foods are not going to be as easy to digest as well. So really looking at your body and trying to work out, what is easier for you to digest. So now that we've just talked about Agni and Ama, what are some of the signs and symptoms that you might have in digestion or Ama? So there's generally 10 signs of Ama with Ayurveda. Some of the more common things and that are really easy to check in with yourself is looking at your tongue. So you've probably heard the idea of tongue scraping, or if you've got a coating on your tongue. So when you get up in the morning, have a look at your tongue and see how it's looking. It should be just a pale pink with a nice clear gloss over it. But sometimes, there can be all sorts of things going on our tongue, and ama is indicated by a coating on the tongue. Now, usually white coating, sometimes it can have a slight yellowish or grey discoloration as well. And anytime there's a coating on the tongue, that suggests that there's some indigestion in the stomach as well. And I might do a separate video on, treating ama in more detail. So that's one way. Otherwise, any blocked channels and excess mucus. So you might have sinus congestion, blocked ears or excess earwax. You might have respiratory congestion and cough and mucus. You may have mucus in the stool. You may have undigested food particles in the stool. You can also just have general feelings of heaviness, aches and pains. Wake up in the morning just feeling foggy-headed and lethargy. That can definitely be signs of ama as well. General aches and pains and stiffness can also be some signs. Pain, bloating and distension can also be a sign. Body odor and bad breath can also be a sign of indigestion and ama, and sort of excess sweating and just this oily sort of feeling on the skin as well. So it's always got this feeling of kapha. If you know much about kapha, it's always got the heaviness, the oiliness, and that slow moving property as well as the stickiness. So generally there's this element of kapha involved when we're talking about ama. So if you've got any of those symptoms, then it might be worthwhile looking at how you can improve your digestion and help to burn through some of that ama. So I think, the next thing, I just wrote some notes here so that I could keep myself on track, because otherwise I'll be here for an hour chatting and going off in all sorts of tangents. So if you're wanting to treat ama, there's a few simple, easy things you can do. So first of all, if you think that this fire just needs some time to build up, then sometimes giving it a rest or doing some fasting or intermittent fasting. Now, I'm not talking about fasting for a week or anything like that, but simply just skipping a meal, checking your tongue, seeing if that coating on the tongue is starting to disappear. That might be all you need. If you've had a particularly heavy meal, you might just need to skip one meal, and then you're starting to really feel that the appetite's starting to increase and you're good to go, and your body's responded really well to that. So skipping a meal. You can also add some digestive spices as well. So there's an Ayurvedic formulation called Trikatu, which is the 3 pungent tastes. So it's black pepper, long pepper and ginger, and you can sort of take that before and after meals to either help build your digestive fire and also help with the digestion of the food you've eaten as well. You can also take some rock salt and grated up ginger just to really help kindle the fire as well. Lemon juice can be also one of those things, like the sour taste can really help to kindle that fire as well. A lot of your fermented things can really help just to add that little bit of pungent, because if you think of your digestion as a fire, and you think of ama as being cold and moist and heavy, and a fire is warm and light and mobile, you can sort of see their polar opposites. So if you're starting to see the qualities of kapha, and there's this heavy, gunky, slow, slimy characteristics with your digestion, and you want it to feel light and vibrant and mobile and warm, you need to add more of those qualities to your life and to your foods and all that sort of thing. So again, exercise is another really great way to get your body moving, because movement will help counteract the ama and that sluggish steadiness. So get out, go for a walk. I'm sure we all know that really improves the appetite as well. Spacing your meals is really important. Allowing at least 4 hours in between your meals will be really helpful. That allows one meal to fully digest, and then everything to sort of reset, and then you'll start to feel your appetite start to build. What can happen when we sort of have a morning snack and then lunch and then afternoon snack and then dinner and then something to nibble on before we go to sleep, our body just never really finishes that complete digestive process, and it just creates areas for ama to sort of start to develop, and indigestion as well. So going back to food and when you eat, the other really important thing is to eat your heaviest meal when the fire element is most prominent in your body and in the environment. So what I mean by that is when the sun is in the highest point of the sky, that's when your appetite is going to be the most strongest and your Agni is going to be the strongest as well. So it would be fantastic if you could make that the time that you have your largest meal. So this is where you would have your main meal with your proteins and your fats and all of that sort of thing, and try and keep your evening meal to just a really nice, light, easy to digest, even a one pot sort of meal like a soup or a casserole or stew or khichdi or something like that. Ideally maybe vegetarian for the evening, because that's just going to be much easier for you to digest. Because what happens in the evening is when we really the liver starts to do its cleansing and detoxifying and rejuvenating activities. So if we're eating a meal late at night, then we're impairing our body's ability to do that detoxification. And then what happens in the morning is we tend to feel heavy and lethargic, all of those qualities of Ama that we just talked about as well. So try to allow at least 4 hours between meals and 4 hours from your last meal going to bed. You'll find that you'll digest your food much better as well. So there's lots of other spices and things that you can do, but just any way that you can add more movement and more heat and more lightness. And if you are feeling that your digestion's a little bit low, just add a little bit. So if you had a low candle, you would just add a little bit of, twigs and leaves to start with, and then gradually build up. So the same as if you're feeling like you've had some indigestion, maybe considering a fast or maybe considering skipping a meal, and you can be sipping on some ginger tea or something like that in between your meals to really add that fire and heat. And then when you are ready to start introducing some foods, just go something quite light, like maybe a broth or a vegetable soup before you're adding too many fats and proteins into it, and you're just gradually working your way up. The other thing I just want to say that's really important with our digestion is our state of our nervous system. Now, we are always in this state of fight or flight. We're always busy, go with an endless to-do list, and often we're eating, we're multitasking, we're on our phones, we are on the computer, and we're eating at our desk. And so when our body is in that fight or flight response, we've got stress hormones going, we've got our respiratory and heart rate more elevated, we've got oxygenated blood going to our muscles to sort of get us ready to run away from our threat. And while all of that's happening, everything in our digestive system and reproductive system sort of gets put on hold, put on the back burner, because it's not an important priority at the moment. So if we're eating at a time when we're not getting good circulation and blood flow through our digestive tract, or our digestive muscles aren't nice and relaxed and they're tense, we're not going to get a really nice digestive process happening. So getting yourself into that rest and digest stage. If you feel like you've been really flustered, try just to take a moment to have a few breaths before eating your meal, and sit, and just be mindful while you're eating. Eliminate any distractions. Don't eat in front of the TV, because all of those sorts of things change the way we, digest our foods as well. And probably one last thing that's just popped into my mind is actually the art of cooking, and thinking about what we're going to eat and going through that preparation process really helps our digestion as well. Because you think about it, when you're putting the spices in and getting all those beautiful aromas, and you're thinking about how amazing it's going to taste, and you're putting all that extra love in as well, which is a secret ingredient, you start to salivate, and all of the digestive enzymes start to get really excited that you're going to be eating. So again, when you just duck out and you pick up something on the run, you sort of don't really get to kickstart the salivary enzymes in their production, which is that first stage of digestion, which starts to break down the carbohydrates, and we're starting to chew our food. And yeah, there's one other really great tip, is to chew your food. I think they say up to 20 times is really great, and I know I'm not always very diligent with that, but chewing our food really helps to break it down, increase that surface area, so you've got lots of active sites for the enzymes to work on. So there's lots of great common sense things there. but I think we just get so busy and we forget these simple things. So try and integrate some of those tips into your life. You can see that they're so easy to do. It's just a matter of making some simple changes. They don't even cost anything to make those changes, but you'll start to see an improvement with your digestion. And if you need a little bit of an additional kickstart, then you can add some digestive spices and things like that we talked about as well. So if you found that interesting and you want a little bit more information about Ayurveda and timing of meals and avoiding the ama and a few of those things, download my Live Wisely guide. There's some great little tips in there to get started and a nice introduction to Ayurveda as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. Have a great day and I'll chat with you soon. Bye bye.